Over the last few years, there's been a resurgence in the heavyweight division. Whether it be Wilder versus Fury or Ruiz scoring a victory over Joshua, it's all been exciting. With the reemergence of this division, we want to take the time and look back and ask the most important question. Who are the 10 greatest heavyweights of all time? This is Boxing Now. Number 10, Jack Dempsey. The Manasseh Mauler revolutionized the sport of boxing. Dempsey brought a level of skill and power that only a few, Gene Tunney in particular, could handle. His win over Luis Firpo drew a crowd of 90,000 to the Polo Grounds, as it was the second ever recorded $1 Million gate. Dempsey absolutely mauled Jess Willard in one of the most lopsided heavyweight fights of all time. Number 9, Jack Johnson. The Galveston Giant became the first African-American heavyweight champion during the height of racial segregation. Boxing was vastly different in the early 1900s, and Johnson's impact and dominance led him to be one of the most significant heavyweight champions of all time. Johnson's most important victory came in the fight of the century with former heavyweight champion Jim Jeffries. Jeffries' sole reason for coming out of retirement was to show that the white man was better than the Negro.
Professional career. The crowd leaps to its feet at the shock of what's happened. Jeff rises and gets hit with a smashing left foot, which sends
In round 15, Jeffries' corner threw in the towel. Number 8, Larry Holmes. As one of the most underrated heavyweights of all time, Larry Holmes' career was often overshadowed by Muhammad Ali. He spent over 7 years as heavyweight champion and made 20 successful title defenses. The Easton Assassin had one of the best jabs in boxing history. It was fast, precise, and very powerful. The best way to describe it, the best defense is a good offense. Holmes could control fights, rest behind his jab, and deliver a dangerous right hand. And although it wasn't prime Ali, no other boxer on this planet can say they stopped the greatest. Number 7, Joe Frasier. Smokin Joe Frasier competed in the golden age of boxing, fighting alongside the likes of Muhammad Ali. And their fight of the century was an absolute war.
That one hurt. So did that.
His dominance of the greatest of all time would establish him as one of the best fighters of his era. He would lose in shocking fashion to George Foreman and would go to battle with Muhammad Ali 2 more times. Number 6, George Foreman. With a record of 76-5 and a career spanning over 30 years, Big George Foreman is quite the unique story. Foreman's career began in 1969 and would end in 1998. One of the hardest punchers in boxing history would destroy Joe Frasier.
Saying it, you may hear him. Down goes Frazier! Down goes Frazier! Down goes Frazier!
And Ken Norton.
No, he doesn't. His legs are rubbery as the left hand goes to the side of his head. A right uppercut, a left jab, and a vicious left sends Norton crumbling to the canvas.
Foreman would experience a spiritual rebirth and retire for 10 years. In 1987, he returned to the ring. 20 years after losing his title in the Rumble in the Jungle to Muhammad Ali, he would defeat Michael Moorer at the age of 45 to become the oldest heavyweight to win the title. Number 5, Mike Tyson. The first portion of Tyson's career is undeniable. At age 20, he knocked out Trevor Berbick to become the youngest heavyweight champion.
That was a right to the body and an uppercut to the head, and Berbick is down.
With signature wins over Michael Spinks and Larry Holmes, at his peak, Mike Tyson was one of the most feared men on the planet and one of the hardest hitting boxers of all time.
Let's go with a couple of lefts now, a right, a left. He's got him down.
With pulverizing power and one of the greatest uppercuts we've ever laid eyes on, Tyson won 37 straight fights before Buster Douglas did the unthinkable. His career would tailspin as he was arrested and sentenced to 6 years in prison, serving 3. His return to the ring would see him win the WBC and WBA titles, but Mike would never regain his position among the top of the division. Number 4, Lennox Lewis. Lennox Lewis was a pioneer in the super heavyweight era of boxing. Lewis was an athletic 6'5" heavyweight. He was the 7th heavyweight to win an Olympic gold medal and a heavyweight championship. It took some time for Lewis to garner the acclaim that he deserves, but as the years pass, he's become more widely accepted as one of the greatest heavyweight fighters of all time. Lennox Lewis beat every heavyweight that was put in front of him, and his final fight was with future champion Vitaly Klitschko. It ended when he TKO'd Klitschko in the 6th round. Lennox Lewis retired as a champion. Number 3, Rocky Marciano. The only heavyweight champion to retire undefeated, Marciano clocked in at a whopping 5'10", 185 pounds. But that didn't make a difference. With signature wins over Archie Moore and Joe Louis, the undefeated Marciano is regarded in some circles as the greatest heavyweight ever. The focus Marciano would display during camp showed his commitment to being the greatest. He would spend weeks in a remote training camp isolated away from family and friends. No man on the planet could stop The Rock from Brockton, as he finished 49-0 with 43 knockouts in his career. His most notable victory would cement him as one of the greatest fighters of all time. Number 2. Joe Louis. The Brown Bomber was the undisputed heavyweight champion for almost 12 years. With an amazing 25 title defenses, Joe Louis could arguably take the number 1 spot. With signature wins over the likes of Max Schmeling, Jersey Joe Walcott, and Max Baer, Louis dominated his era. Louis entered boxing after the reign of the wildly popular Jack Dempsey. The rejection of African American fighters as heroes didn't stop Louis from becoming the hope of a nation. He would go on to defeat German fighter Max Schmeling. That fight would have political symbolism, as it took place during the heightened tensions growing before World War II. Number 1. Muhammad Ali. He's the greatest, and he's pretty. Muhammad Ali was the greatest boxer, fighting during the greatest era of heavyweight boxing. So most assuredly, he's the greatest heavyweight of all time. He won his first title as a 7-1 underdog against Sonny Liston, another heavyweight that could have made this list. His toughest opponent was the United States, as he was stripped of his boxing license and effectively exiled from boxing from age 25 to 29. His return to the ring saw him score victories over Joe Frazier and Ken Norton twice in 2 of the greatest trilogies in boxing history. He would overcome odds as a 4-1 underdog in the Rumble in the Jungle against George Foreman. In terms of impact, there is none greater. In terms of dominance, there is none greater. He fought in the greatest era. He was charismatic, athletic, and he has the resume to match. Not only is he an icon, Muhammad Ali is the greatest heavyweight boxer of all time. How does your list stack up against ours? Drop a line in the comments section below. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to Boxing Now. Subscribe to my channel, Quality TV. There's a link in the description. Protect yourself at all times, fight fans. Till next time, we'll see ya on Boxing Now.